direct line with me now. If you have any questions tonight on the webinar, you want to say anything, you want to, I don't know, ask me the price of milk in the shop, I don't care. You can put in any question that you want into that chat. And yeah, it's going to be great. So before we begin, I do my usual, which is to ask you, hello, there's people saying hello to me already. You knew what I'm going to ask. Mick, you knew what I was going to ask. Okay. So for anybody who hasn't been on my webinars before, my first question I always ask is, where are you logging in from? So if you don't mind popping that information into the chat, if you don't feel, you don't want to say what town, just put in the county or the country or the city, anything. So this is your first exercise of this webinar. We're going to get you working. You've come here to work. I probably didn't tell you that. I should have told you that you're actually going to be working now for the next 45 minutes. I'm just going to sit back and relax. Not really. But I do want you to pop into the chat where you're logging in from, because I like to know where everybody is. And if you're on the other platforms like Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, please do the same. Pop it into the chat. I'll start off. It's like one of those meetings you see on TV. I'll start off. Hello, my name is Vincent. I'm from Kildare. And Kildare, for anybody who's not from Ireland, is just kind of down below the centre, not too far from Dublin. Okay. Hello, Gonzalo. So now you see me going over here, it means I'm going to check the chat and the messages, and this is where I can see everybody. Okay, so let's see. Mick, you are from Ireland. Thank you for coming, Mick. Good to see you again. Jessica, hi Jess. Sorry, I know somebody who's called Jessica and I call her Jess. I'm sorry if nobody calls you that. Jessica from Limerick. Hi, Jessica. Gonzalo, you're at Zoom. Excellent. Hi, Anna. Gonzalo, you're from Zombieland. That's an interesting place. Where would that be now? Mick from Bray. Hi, Mick. Oksana from Dublin. Wonderful. Wonderful. It's all happening up here. Okay, Jessica, glad I didn't offend you. Anna from Kilkee in County Clare. Anna, did you know there is a place in Kildare as well called Kilkee? Well, we used to call it Kilkee. I worked there. And there's a place called Kilkee Castle. You're all Googling it right now. It's a beautiful castle. Anyway, less about my Kilkee, more about your Kilkee. Thank you, Anna, for joining us from Kilkee all the way down in County Clare. Okay, folks, so listen, as I mentioned, I'm going to make this worth your while tonight. I really appreciate your time. If you want to give back on this webinar, throughout the webinar, I would really ask you, please, pop in, you're welcome, pop in your examples. I'm going to ask you for some examples. You don't have to participate. Honestly, you don't, and I won't be offended if you don't, but I would love it if you did, because it gives me the fuel. You want to fuel me up? You want to get me to give you some more data? You give me some comments or you give me some examples, and that will give me the fuel to keep going. I'm actually deadly serious, because sometimes when you don't get feedback, you're like, it's all information going out and there's nothing coming in. That's all. Okay, folks. So 45 minutes. We're going to start now. This is about dealing with your problems. I'm going to give you some really key basics that you're going to love. Okay? I want you to stay around until the end, because at the end I have an extremely special offer just for you, for those who stay until the end. So you might have to listen throughout the webinar. So please don't go off and have your dinner in the middle of the webinar unless it's there in front of you. Don't go, I don't know, stick on. Like if you're watching TV right now, and I mean, many people look at me with one eye and then watch the TV with the other. Please turn off the TV, because I just want your full attention. I'm very greedy like that. I'm very greedy. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, what else was I going to say? Yeah, as for who you're listening to, bit about myself. I am from Kildare, as I said, and I have been interested in self-improvement for very many years, and my webinar tonight is based off this book here called Dianetics. Dia means through, netics means the mind. Dianetics. I came across this book in 1992. It was written by this gentleman. His name is L. Ron Hubbard, and this gentleman also developed a subject called Scientology, which means the study of knowledge. You might have heard about that. Tom Cruise and a lot of the movie stars are into it and that kind of thing. But tonight, the webinar that I'm going to deliver is primarily based on this, which is basically about you and about how you actually handle problems in your life. Okay? But if you have any questions, you can pop them into the chat and I'll help you to answer those questions. Okay, so now let's launch straight into this. First of all, when we talk about problems, okay, we're talking about a common thing that people face, okay? I mean, let's be honest, it's kind of part of life. So I had a friend, I still have this friend, and he used to be in a situation whereby he was working in the building trade and he got offers regularly from different countries to go for work, okay? But he would always come to me to ask me for my opinion on what I just don't know, Vincent. I want to go here, but then there's another thing coming in here and another offer. You know, there were so many offers that he used to go into confusion and get very introverted and go kind of downhill on it. And so problems can really affect you. So let's have a little look at some of the problems that people face in life. And we're all faced with different things. Money. You know, you might want to buy a new car, which costs 50,000 euros, but you've only got 5 euros in your bank account. Okay. Relationships. Okay. You might want to, you know, meet the girl or the guy of your dreams. But I don't know, you're living in a village and there's only 5 people living in it. There's your problem. Or you might be in work and you might want to get a promotion, but you know, you don't know how to go about it or whatever. Or you might have a kid who is sick, your child is sick, and it's a problem for you. So now I want to ask you, thank you, Mick. Yes, we're going to get into that in a few minutes. Good man, Mick. Good man. I would like you, this is your next exercise. See, I told you I was going to keep you busy. I'd like you to add to this list. What other problems do people face in life? And if you like, and if you don't mind, you can also put down your own problem. What is the problem that you're running into that you would like to solve? So I'd like you now to take a moment to add to this list. What other problems do people run into? Give me one example, if you don't mind, pop it into chat, or preferably pop in your problem that you'd like to fix. And I'll write it on the board. And your name, not your name, but your idea will go up in lights. It'll go up in lights. You'll be famous for this evening. Okay, let's see. Problem self-esteem. Yeah, good. So that's a good one. Self-esteem. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else? What other problems do people face in life? What other problems do you face in life? I'm just going to write these down so I can refer to them throughout the webinar. And so I'm making it relevant for yourself. Okay. Keep paying the rent and keep a roof over my head. Money. We'll say rent, money and rent. Yeah. But the price of rent these days, and it can be quite expensive. So, you know, if you're earning 500 euros a week, especially if you're living in Dublin anyway, often half of that is going to go towards rent, which is kind of tricky to, yeah, I understand that, Mick. Thank you. Jessica, I love that one. Health. Yeah. And keeping in shape, keeping fit. Health and fitness. Yeah. So you want to look amazing. You want to feel good. You want to feel energetic. You want to feel fit. The problem is there's too many good movies on Netflix and there's too much chocolate in the house, or there's, I don't know, there's just no will. There's no will to do it. Okay. Thank you. It's a problem, but I always struggle to get to the gym. Okay. Thank you, Jessica. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jess. All right. So we have a couple of examples here. Look, it's not difficult to come up with these things, but I want to right now give you a really, really good definition. This is from the author of the book, who wrote down a definition problem. It's in this thing called the definitions sheet. It's from a particular document this fella wrote about dealing with difficult people. Okay, and he wrote this beautiful definition of what is a problem. And I'm going to write this down for you exactly. So a problem is this. Okay, I'm going to draw it. Where's my definition now? Yeah, it's an intention. What is the problem? It's an intention. Now, what is an intention? An intention means something you want to do, something that you want to get done, your purpose. You have an intention to clean the house, or you have an intention to get a good job, or you have an intention to make more money, or to get up out of bed, or to go to that gym, or to ask that girl out, or to ask that guy out, or to, I don't know, whatever, open your own business. That's your intention. Perfect. Now, an intention. It's an intention, counter intention. Okay? Now, a counter intention basically means an opposing intention, something opposite to that. Let's see, is there a definition here? Example. Okay? Joe wants to become a musician. That's his intention. His father wants him to be a doctor. That's counter intention. Okay? Or you want to go to the shop, but the tire is flat on your car. Or you want to get to know this girl and ask her out, but she can't stand beside you. Or you want to get a job in a particular company, but there's other people who are competing against you. Okay. So an intention, counter intention. Now these counter intentions are happening all over in life. If you live in the jungle, no, I'm going to say it differently. If you're visiting the jungle and you're in one part of a field and there's a restaurant over on the other side where you can eat because you're hungry. So your intention is to go across that field to get food because you're hungry. But in the field then there's also a lion and he's also hungry. Right? So that would be your counter intention. So here we have a problem. Okay? But there's one extra ingredient that he's added here, which is very, very clever. So essentially, this is the definition of a problem. It's an intention, counter intention, something that's opposite to what you're doing. Now, there's a bit of extra here. It's an intention, counter intention that worries the person. Okay. That is important. A problem is an intention, counter intention that worries the person. So if the person is worried, then we essentially have a problem. If the person isn't really worried, to that degree, it's much less of a problem. For example, if in the World Cup, Argentina are playing, I'm not going to say Ireland, let's say Greenland. Let's say Greenland, okay? Now, Argentina, it's their intention to win the match. Their counter intention is Greenland. Okay, now I don't know if Greenland have any football team, and I'm sorry, I picked Greenland because it's much less likely to offend anybody, hopefully. Greenland are the opposing side. So even though Greenland are a counter intention, it's not going to worry Argentina very much, or it shouldn't. It's more likely that Argentina would be worried about it. So it's an important point that if you have a worry about the problem, that's the thing that makes it, okay? Because we're all facing worries on a daily basis. But it's going to depend upon your ability to handle it. And the second part of this webinar, I'm going to be telling you exactly how we're going to handle that aspect of it. Because if you're less worrying, then you're more likely able to handle the situation. Okay, Now, let me ask you this. Okay, here is the next. Okay, Mick, thank you. Here is the next exercise. All right, so that's the first thing. It's a problem is an intention, counter intention that worries the person. Okay, now I want you to give me an example of a problem that does not worry you. Okay, something that you have to deal with that doesn't worry you. Can you write down in the chat one example? Maybe it's just, I don't know, an argument with your brother or your sister. You have to handle it. Or maybe you've run out of milk and that's a problem. Or maybe it's a business that you're running into or that you want to open, but you're not worried about it. So can you think of an example of one problem that you have in life that you're not worried about? In other words, there's something stopping you, but it doesn't bother you really because you know you're going to handle it, or it'll get handled somehow, or whatever. No takers on that one yet. Never mind. I just wanted to show you the definition, okay? An intention, counter intention that worries the person. Okay, so now let's move on to the next bit. Now, this particular reference is from by the way, can I just ask you there, and hello to Lana. I didn't say hello to Lana. Hello, Lana. Welcome to the webinar. Does anybody have any questions on that point? Problem, intention, counter intention? You probably all think, well, I know what a problem is, Vincent, you're grand. Okay, if you have a question, please pop it into the chat. Now, the next thing I want to tell you about is from this book here called A New Slant on Life. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this at the end. It's got absolutely wonderful stuff in it. Let me just show you one or two bits and pieces. How to decide on your own goals in life, how to make decisions, how to improve relationships with people, how to become successful in your job, how to handle your marriage, how to live with children, how to detect people who are putting you down in life, and all sorts of other things. But there's just literally one line that I want to read out to you, which is going to kind of, I'm going to just give you the broad picture. No point to worry about your things or problems. Yeah, it's true. The trouble is, Mick, that it happens with a lot of people. They do worry about them a lot and it stresses them out a lot, and there's a reason for that. Okay, what if you cannot see the counter intentions? Yeah, but we'll get into that as well. We'll get into that. Indeed, normally when you're thinking clearly and you're able to observe, you can see what's in front of you and you can see the things that are opposing you. Okay, with a bit of research, maybe you don't quite see it directly, but you might need to do a little bit of research to find out what is the problem here. For example, if you have a company, you're trying to run your business selling cakes, okay, and nobody's buying the cakes, and it's a big problem. So you might have to research, and you find out after a week's worth of research that one of your staff members is using sour milk in the cakes. So it's not really helping the taste of the cakes and nobody wants them. So you might have to do a bit of research on it. That's normal. Okay. Now, I want to show you this. I hope that is like some sort of an answer anyway, Gonzalo. Okay. Let me just give you a bit of a marker. Here we go. Oh, we still got people coming in. Nice. Life. What is life? Because we're all living. What is life? I don't know if anybody, do more research. Look, observe. Yes, we'll get into this. Life is a anybody want to guess? Going once, going twice. Life is a game. Okay, that's all very well for me to say that. Okay, got that, Gonzalo. It's all very well to say that, very light and all the rest of it, but I want to just show you one little thing. Here's a little definition. Life is a game. to make life interesting, and for life to be interesting, there has to be some sort of a game. Life is a game. Thank you, Mick. Yes, that's true as well. It has to be some sort of a game. And here's the next line. A game consists of freedom. Okay. Next one, barriers. Okay. And purposes. Okay. Life is a game, and a game consists of freedom, barriers, and purposes. So let's have a look at this in a real game, okay? So let's say you're playing a football match, okay? You have a pitch there, and there's the middle, okay? And you have these players, okay? And so there you are, part of this game. Now, in that game of football, you have the freedom to move around the pitch. You have the freedom to score a goal. You even have the freedom to score an own goal if you really wanted to. So there is freedom in any game of football, okay? There are also barriers, okay? The sidelines are the barriers, okay? The rules are the barriers. The opposition are the barriers. So there are things that are going to stop you as part of the game. Otherwise, if there were no barriers, if there was absolutely no barriers, there would be no game and there would be no interest. You would lose interest. There's no barriers. You take a guy who's a multi-millionaire and he has everything he's ever wanted in life. He's got no more problems. Well, life becomes and can become very dull. Although I think I would know what I would do with a few 100 million. So, freedoms, barriers, and purposes, okay? So in this particular game, what is the purpose? In a game of football, what is the purpose? Anybody want to volunteer an answer? What is the purpose? In a game of football, what's the purpose? Okay, I'm going to tell you. Any takers? Remember I told you at the beginning, you can feed me with answers. It kind of keeps me, it's like putting coins into the machine, you know? When you give me examples and yes, thank you, Oksana. Oksana, you have regenerated me. You have regenerated. Gonzalo to sell t-shirts. Thanks, Gonzalo. Not quite. Oksana, score a goal. Exactly. That is the point. So the purpose in a game of football is to score a goal. So that purpose has to be there. So in every game, you have to have a purpose. In every game, there's going to be a certain amount of freedom. And in every game, there's also barriers. So for example, let's take a marriage, okay? In a marriage, you're married to a woman or you're married to a guy and there's freedom there, okay? You can travel away at the weekend. You can have kids if you want. You can go visit your parents at the weekend. There's a freedom. There's also a purpose. You want to have a better life. You want to have 5 or 10 children. And you want to have a secure house. You want to live in a nice area. So there's purposes. But there's also barriers. A barrier of money. There's also rules that you have to stick by. These are barriers. They're like, you can't go beyond that. And the rules are, if you're married, well, in Ireland anyway, you're not supposed to be going out with somebody else as well. Okay? So there are those barriers, there's rules. Okay? So there always has to be some sort of barriers. So in business also, if you own a cake shop, you have the freedom to sell as many cakes as you want. You will have to have a purpose to achieve a certain target. And there's going to be barriers. You've not enough flour. The main chef hasn't come in today because he was out drinking last night. And there's another bakery just opened up down the road. So you're going to always have barriers, but that's what life is. Now, let me ask you this. Yes, Nick, exactly. Let me ask you this. We're talking about problems here on this webinar. Which of those points does problems fit into the most? Where does problems fit in here? Which one of those? Okay, 1, 2, or 3. Which one of those is really when we're talking about problems? Anybody want to volunteer an answer? I'm going to take the first one. Remember, answers are like coins in my back. They revitalize me and keep me going till the end. Okay, so we have freedoms, barriers, and purposes. Now, where do problems fit in to this formula? Problems. Anybody? Going once? Exactly. Oksana? Anna, you see? There you go. Thank you. You're exactly right. Barriers. So when you're looking at problems in life, remember, these problems are barriers in the game of life. Okay? Everybody is going to face them if they are living. So if you're living, and if the more you live, and the more of a bigger life that you're going to have, the bigger your purpose is going to be. And guess what's going to get bigger? Boom. Barriers. Your problems and barriers are going to get bigger. The more life you take on, but there'll be more freedom in it for you. So if you want to have a booming bakery, right? You want bakeries all over Ireland, and it's going to bring you in 10,000 euros a week. Well, there's the freedom that you have with that 10,000, but you're also going to have a very strong purpose to open up those bakeries, and you're going to have a lot more problems. Okay? So the purpose of this webinar is to, and I'm going to get into this right now, is to build you up so that you are more able to handle problems and worry much, much less. Okay? There's loads more in that book, New Slant on Life, and I'll tell you more about that at the end. Okay. Now, I have a little exercise for you. Give me a second. I had it written down here in my notes. Don't go away. Okay. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Here's what I want you to do. Okay. I want you to have a think about your life and the different parts of your life. Okay. This was amazing. I'm a genius. I want you to write down into the chat one game that you are currently playing in your life based on what we've gone over here, because your life can have many, many games. You can have many, many games in life. I want you to put into the chat one game that you are currently playing in your life. And I don't care what it is. Get fit. Maybe you're married and you want to have kids. You have a purpose to have kids. You want the freedom of it. And maybe you're in a job and your company is wanting to expand. Maybe you're wanting to learn how to drive. Maybe you're part of a cycling club and your purpose is to win a competition. Who knows? Does anybody want to volunteer? Give me an example of a game that you are currently playing in life. And then I'm going to show you how you're going to build yourself up. Hi, Christina, by the way. Christina, you slid in the side door there, but you are very, very welcome. Okay? I didn't see you coming in. Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Oh, Oksana, you got in there. You got in there. Okay. Moving to Ireland and complete settling in here. Fantastic. That is a really, really good example of a game, right? You've got the purpose. Interesting. Let's have a look at this. The purpose of moving to Ireland, the freedom to go wherever in Ireland that you want and when you want, and you have the barriers to get here. You know, settling in, tickets to flights and whatever else, houses, neighborhoods, getting established with schools if you have kids. So there's loads and loads of barriers. Yeah, very good. And the rat race, Gonzalo, well, in any event, some people consider life as a rat race, but interestingly enough, if you look at it, you are actually playing different games as part of life. So there are different aspects of life which are actually games. So you need to recognize them as games, and life tends to become a little bit less serious when you do so. Okay, so that's the next thing. Now, okay, next bit. So here you are in life, and you are trying to deal with this problem, okay? And you know what? Often people get many, many problems, and they build up and they build up and they build up. And sometimes it's very hard to deal with problems when there's so many of them. Okay? And they get very overwhelming. But if you're able to think clearly and you're able to analyze that problem and persist, you will be able to find a solution for it, and you will be able to handle it. Now, there's a booklet here. It's called Solutions for a Dangerous Environment. Again, I'm going to show you this at the end. I'm giving you all a whole sneak preview. I shouldn't be doing this at all. So, got a little picture here. I don't know if I can show you this in the camera. Yeah, there we go. All right. There's a guy completely overwhelmed with his job, and there's somebody helping him out. Okay. When you're dealing with a whole host of problems, there's a very, very simple way that you can start to get on top of it. And it's to deal with it a little bit at a time. And so it shows you here in this booklet how to write a list and exactly what to do on that list and when. Okay, that's one of the things. And then also it shows you basically about how to arrange your life so that you're much more in control of it. Okay, Solutions for a Dangerous Environment. Okay, now, this is the most important part of the webinar tonight, and that's this. Your ability to handle your problems depends on your confidence in yourself and how well you're able to handle stress, but mainly the condition of your mind. Okay. Your mind is a collection of all of your past memories, which you use as an information base to solve problems in your life. So, for example, I remember I had an idea it was about a year or two. No, it was more. It was longer because it turned out bad. I had an idea to make an apple tart. Okay, I thought, you know what? I need to make an apple tart. I'd love to have an apple tart. Now, I didn't read a book on it. I didn't even find a recipe. Okay, I just said I'm going to make an apple tart. So because I wanted one, and that was my problem. So I tried to remember back, how did my mother make apple tarts? And I remembered what she used to do to make apple tarts. And based on that, I was able to put that in, buy the flour, get the apples and all this kind of bit of sugar, and put it all together. And I actually made a fairly decent apple tart that was edible. Now, I thought it was nice, actually. Those around me might have questioned that, but I thought it was lovely. Delicious apple tart. Amazing. But the point is that when you're solving problems, you use what you have learned to come up with solutions. So if your mind and your thinking is in really good condition, your solutions are going to be very, very clever, very positive, and you're going to be confident about that decision. But here's the problem. The problem is that there is a negative part of your mind, which in Dianetics we call the reactive mind. And this part of your mind stores up problems that you had in the past, which were not very pleasant. Problems that you had in the past that were painful, stressful. And what happens is, when you face a problem in life, when you're trying to deal with problems, this part of your mind reacts without your permission and can affect your ability to think, which makes you come up with bad solutions, or makes you uncertain, makes you worry about your solution, makes you lack the confidence to follow through with your solution. So every problem can be dealt with by a clever approach and an energetic approach to that problem. But the more past problems that you had, which are still affecting you, the less likely it's going to be that you're going to solve your problems. You're going to get nervous, or you're going to get worried, or you're going to get angry, or you're going to get stressed, or you're going to lose your temper, or whatever. Okay? Now, I'll give you a little example of this, right? Let's say here, at the age of, let's say, 14, you had a car crash. As a passenger in a car, you were in a car crash, okay? And that's a car crash, right? So you wanted to go to town in the car, okay? That was your intention. But then there was a counter intention, and the counter intention was a different car wanted to go in the same direction, the exact opposite direction to you, and so you crashed into each other. So that was an actual problem, and it included some pain and maybe a bit of unconsciousness, and it's stuck there in your reactive mind. Now, let's say that was when you were 14, and here you are now, you're 24 years of age, and I'm going to try to drive a car here. I'll draw a car here, okay? Bear with me. All right, now there you go. I never went to art class, but I think that's an amazing car, okay? That is a car. You want to learn how to drive the car. So you get into the car, you're 24 years of age, you drive the car, there's no traffic around, okay? And you turn a corner, and then you see a car in the distance, and for some strange reason, you start freaking out. You start getting stressed out, losing your temper, and you just can't handle it. You get a panic attack, or you worry, or you get angry with your parent or your friend, or you lose confidence in yourself. There's no sense to it. All that's happening here is this incident is triggering off the car crash. And the car crash is affecting you without your consent, and your reactive mind is telling you, stay away. That's dangerous. Stay away. Whereas in actual fact, it's not. You're well able to steer the steering wheel and stay on your own side of the road. A car at 100 meters away isn't going to kill you. But the reactive mind will tell you that it is. We'll take another example. Let's say here, you were going out with a guy and you lost your boyfriend, okay? You were going out with a fella for 4.5 years, and your intention with this guy was to make him propose and to marry this guy. So you had an intention. But the problem is, he fell in love with your best friend, and they went off to Honolulu together and lived there and had babies. I don't know, whatever. So it was a massive problem, but it was also very painful. Okay? So that happened, let's say, when you were 20. Okay? So now here you are, 30, and you're trying to get to know this new fella, and oh God, he's a handsome bloke. And you really want to get to know him because he's got the same interests as you and so forth. Okay? But the closer he's getting to you, as the weeks go on, he's getting closer and closer. If anything goes wrong at all, if there's an argument or something happens, it is very likely that this incident is going to get triggered, and it's going to start affecting you mentally and emotionally. So you've got this new problem. You want to make this guy marry you. You want to make this guy into an honest guy. But every time he tries to get close, this past loss gets triggered and tells you, stay away. So in other words, your problems that you're having at the moment are being affected by how many unhandled, painful problems you had in the past. You might say, okay, Vincent, the past is the past. You just have to get on with it. Life's a journey. Time heals all. It'll all be grand. From my experience, and I've been delivering Dianetics therapy to people for a long time and helping people on a one-to-one basis, I don't think that works. Because you might be grand for a while, but all it takes is for something to go wrong again for this stuff to get triggered off. The more baggage you are carrying around, the more bad experiences you've had in your past, the more likely it is that you're going to have trouble solving your present problems. Not because there's any issue with these, not because you're not able to handle these, but because this is affecting you without your knowledge and without your consent. So here is my next exercise for you. I want you to think about an example. I'm going to ask you for 2 examples here, and I would appreciate it if everybody gave me an example. I would love it. It would make me so happy. You know how happy I get when I get an example. Yes, you do. Of course you do. I want you to give me an example of a problem that you had in your past which resulted in physical pain. Because that's the first type. There's 2 types. One of them has got physical pain, and the second one has emotional pain. Emotional pain and physical pain. These are the 2 types of things that are stored in the reactive mind. So, I want you to take a moment to think of an example of something that happened to you in your past, which was a problem, and it had physical pain. Like, did you have an accident? Did you fall off a ladder? Did you want to go into the car and somebody closed the door on your hand? Did you fall out of a tree? Were you injured in football? You wanted to score the goal and someone decided to put their football boot close to your eyes. Okay? Take a moment to think of an example of a problem that you had in the past with physical pain. And based on the rate of no answers just yet, I'm going to make it easier for you. You can choose 1 or 2. This is great. I'm sorry. I didn't trust you. I'm so sorry. I trust you again. I just thought that it wasn't going to happen. Oksana falling from your bike. Let's take that one. Brilliant example. So here's an incident of physical pain. Falling from a bike. Happened years ago. There will be some parts of that incident that you will remember, and usually some parts of that incident that are a little bit blank. And it's the blank part that's stored in here. Now, I'm not saying that this has happened to you, but it could happen. A person falls and has a bad fall from a bike. It can lead them to decide, oh no, you know what, I'm not interested in bicycles anymore. I want to get to town and there's a bicycle there, but I'd rather walk. In other words, it steers you away from things that you should do and problems that you should solve. Okay? Anna, broken hand, thank you. Okay, again, an injury, a physical injury. You were doing something at the time. You wanted to get something done and something happened that you broke your hand. Okay? Now, can I ask you, Anna, what you were doing, if you don't mind? What were you doing that caused you to break your hand? Were you playing football, or did you have were you just running, or were you building a house, or what were you doing? If you don't mind me asking, how did you break your hand? Like, what was the intention at the time? Okay? Because that intention, okay, let's say you broke your hand playing tennis. Okay? Let's say you broke your hand playing tennis. Your intention was to win the game. Okay? Now, you broke your hand, so that's stored in there. Now, when you go and try to win a new game, this thing can get triggered and can steer you away without you even knowing it. Okay? Next one. Falling off a horse during a hunt. I get, so you're hunting for something. Okay? You're hunting for something then, Mick. And then you are, you have a goal in mind, but you had a painful experience. And the way that can affect you is when you set new goals or you try to get into new games, the reactive mind can steer you away from every game that you want to play. Anna, playing with your sister at home. Great. So you just wanted to have fun. You wanted to have fun and you wanted to enjoy the company of your sister and have a great laugh. Okay, great. But you had this breaking of hand. So now the mother tells you, oh, you shouldn't be doing that anymore. And so you get a bit nervous and worked up because so that now you don't want to do too many fun things because they might result in the same thing. I'm just making this up, right? It might or might not happen. But in any event, your reactive mind steers you away from doing things. And often it steers you away from doing things that are not always related to the thing that happened. Christina. Yeah, exactly. There's a good one as well. There's a good one. Christina came up with a good one. And this is the emotional pain one, right? Let's say you trusted somebody and they let you down. They betrayed you massively. In other words, your intention was to have a good relationship with that person. Let's say you're going out with a guy and you want him to be faithful because you want this to go somewhere. And then he turns around and says, well, I love you to bits. And then you find out that he's more interested in your mother than he's interested in you. And goes off to, I don't know. God, I'm coming up with some crazy examples. Okay, I'm going to have to simmer down a bit. Basically, he betrays you. And the way that can affect you in the future is that new problems that you want to have a game, you want to have kids, so you want to find the right guy. Reactive mind tells you, all men are the same. Stay away from them all. You can't trust one of them. They're not worth trusting. Okay? Now, this is the most important thing to handle. I went over with you tonight the definition of a problem. I went over life is the game, okay? But this is the most important thing to handle because it is the thing that influences your thinking and influences you emotionally, which stops you handling problems. You might think to yourself, Vincent, it's nothing to do with the past. And I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but I'm going to ask you, just have a look. Just have a look. Maybe it's got something to do with it. So there's loads of tools which I'm going to tell you about today, right? In a few minutes. But there are all sorts of things that you can use to solve your problems and to help you. And some of the books I'm going to introduce you to tonight will help you with those. But if you don't handle this, if you don't handle your past buried experiences, maybe you don't remember them. Maybe you don't remember the bad things that happened to you, but I can assure you, for each person, there's a whole package of stuff sitting there under the surface, getting triggered without you even realizing it. And for each person, there's different content. For each person, there's different stuff in here. So, how do we handle this? Now, I'm not going to get into the whole difficulty of it here, right? But I told you about this book at the beginning, right? There is a chapter, there's 3 books in this one book, and there's a chapter in book 3 called Therapy, all right? I know that sounds like, oh, therapy. But here's basically, very briefly, what it's about. I'm not going to get into the complexities of it because there's a bit more to learn about. The bottom line is, for you to really be able to deal with your problems in life, believe it or not, you have to clear up the past problems as well. You thought you had moved on from them? Yes, you have, to a certain degree. But there's a package here that's getting triggered without your consent. So now, let me show you what we do to handle this. Now, I'm only going to touch off this, right? This author researched, and this is what I love about this guy, is that he didn't just take what everybody else thought about how you help somebody with problems and all the latest fads at the time he wrote this book of drugging people. You know, if you want to help somebody with stress, just pump them with a few pills. I never agreed with that. And I found this guy had the same kind of approach, more of a traditional approach to handling problems. Okay? A traditional approach, like the good old days. Okay? And the traditional approach is based on communication. Now, in Dianetics, there's a therapy, and it's called auditing. The word auditing means to listen and to guide. And it's done with two people. I'm sorry to tell you that. Yes, there are things I'm going to show you about tonight which you can do on your own. But if you want to clear up the stuff that has happened to you in the past, if you want to delve in and find out what is in that package of problems from your past, which is a package of problems from your past. That was beautiful. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. I know. I'm sorry, I didn't go to poetry school either. Not my fault, okay? Auditing means to listen and to guide. In an auditing session, you've got a person called the auditor, who's the person who delivers the session. And you have the person who's receiving the session, who's wide awake, but has their eyes closed. And this person is called a pre-clear. Pre means before, and clear is the end result. And the end result is basically you, but that stuff cleared up. And when that stuff is cleared up, your intention increases. So you're much more able to solve your problems with the natural confidence that you already have, but it's buried. So in an auditing session, the auditor is helping the person who's receiving it to find, to dig. You get the shovel out and you start digging to dig and to find the stuff that's happened to you in the past, which was emotionally painful or physically painful, and help you to clear that up. For good. Permanently. Done deal. You know, there are so many things that you can read on the different social media channels about how to solve your problems, but often, like, they're in many cases, they're quick fixes. They're not real permanent fixes. They last you for about a week, and then you're back to square one again. When you've cleared up this stuff, you will have completely handled the most important thing that you need to solve your problems, which is your strength and your ability and your natural confidence and your natural intelligence. You have got a huge amount of confidence. You've got a huge amount of ability. You've got a huge amount of intelligence, but it's being suppressed. And it's being suppressed from within because of this package. When that is cleared up, you get back your own strength. And that is going to enable you to handle problems and to learn how to deal with these problems in the future. Okay, now, before I move on, okay, I want to ask you one last thing about this reactive mind. I want you to have a think about something. Can you write down an example? And again, please give me examples of something that makes you react in life, something that triggers you off. I'd like you just to write an example in the chat of something that you're aware of that triggers you off. That, you know, you could be doing fine and something just, without you wanting it, stresses you out. Take a moment to just think about that. An example of something that triggers you off and causes you stress. And pop it into the chat if you wouldn't mind. Anything. Maybe it's your mother constantly calling you. Maybe it's dogs barking. Maybe it's guys walking down the street with a hoodie. Okay? Oh, good one. Oh, thank you. Xana, when someone says that I'm not able to do it, beautiful. I love that one. I love that one, Oksana. Great example. Great example. Because the truth is, you've got a huge amount of ability. You are going to run into people who will want to put you down in life. And there's a great piece of information about that in this book, which I showed you about earlier on, how to identify those people. Very important to know that. But all they do, and they often do it deliberately, is they trigger off stuff in your reactive mind because they know what to say to you and how to say it. But if that stuff is cleared up, that doesn't have to be worried about anymore. Good one, Oksana. And Mick, anyone who hurt animals, great. So you are hurting animals, okay. So you see an animal getting hurt and it stresses you out, okay. And just even seeing it makes you worried, makes you upset. And often that's because the stuff, and not to say this has happened or not happened to you, but it often has to do with having lost animals in the past. Having had bad experiences because of seeing that. And that stuff just builds up and builds up. The problem is this. Problem. I use that word problem again. If you don't handle this fast, it tends to grow. The more bad experiences you have, to a point where you lose interest in the different games of life. For example, if you have a partner and you've been going out with them for 10 years and they've had loads of bad experiences, they might just lose interest in the game of the relationship. Or you have somebody who's working with you in a business, the more bad experiences, the more two people lose interest in the game because the barriers are too great, and it's mainly because of this. Okay, so now folks, I want to take this opportunity, we're going to wrap up now in a few minutes, to tell you what I would recommend to you next, because to solve this situation, you need a bit of data. So I'm going to show you this first screenshot, and this is in relation to the book that I was explaining to you earlier on, the Dianetics book, okay? Now, in this book, there are 500 pages. It goes over exactly how your past problems affect you in present and exactly how to clear it up step by step so that you are back to yourself again. There's a wonderful glossary for any new words. There's a few new words in it, but there's 3 books which explains to you what the end result is, which is called Clear, which is basically you back to yourself again, and basically how to increase your strength and your power so that you're more able to deal with life. Okay, so that's the first thing, and this is the main book I would really like you and I encourage you to get tonight. Now, with that, I want to introduce another little booklet, and that is this one here called the Solutions for a Dangerous Environment booklet. I brought this up throughout the webinar. I introduced you to it because there are loads of little tips. This is it's just a small booklet, but there's an online course that goes with this, which teach you very practical things you can do to start dealing with situations where you have too many problems or when you want to help somebody else with a problem. So it's a little mini course. There's a workbook in it. You don't have to do the course, but there's a little workbook and there's practical exercises that you can do at the back of the book. And when you've read it, lots of pictures. We like pictures, don't we? We like pictures. We don't like just writing and more writing and loads of pictures. But it's very, very good. It's very useful. It's got some practical tools. Okay, so now, normally, and this is where I encourage you to get the book, in terms of cost, the price of these books is, that's going up on the screen now, 25 euros, right? Now, wait, don't hang up on me just yet. Don't hang up. If you get this before the end of the webinar tonight, okay, the special offer is that you get it for 20 euros, okay, for those two. Now, it's normally 20 for the Dianetics book, and it's 5 euros for the book, get for 20 euros. But now, I told you that anybody who waited until the end of the webinar tonight was going to find out something special. I told you this. I don't know if anybody who left didn't believe me. It was just like, oh, Vincent, I've lost faith. I've lost faith in you. Don't lose faith. I don't know, there's some word. Fear not. I think that's the word. Okay. For anybody who gets these books tonight, that little package there is €20. There's going to be a link going up. Anybody who gets it tonight before the end of the webinar is going to get a paperback copy of this book, A New Slant on Life, free with the package. So you're going to get 3 books. The total cost of it is normally €42. So it's 20 for the Dianetics book, 5 for the booklet, and then it's 17. Is my maths right? 25 and 17. Yeah, €42 for the whole lot. So if you get it this evening, I'm going to be giving you a copy of this book as well, free with that. When you will have it in Lithuanian language? Good question. Sylvia is on the chat there. She's going to answer that question because I don't know the answer to it, Christina. But this book, this book is available in 50 languages. I know it's in Russian. I don't know if it's in Latvian. I don't know if it's in Lithuanian, but I've met so many people from Lithuania now that it should be. It should be. Okay? It's an absolutely wonderful book. So the link to actually get these is going to be going up in the chat in a few minutes, right? I'm going to keep this webinar open and this chat open for another maybe 15 or 20 minutes because I want to give anybody any opportunity to ask any questions. Okay? So let me just reiterate, okay? You got the Dianetics book, which is going to show you exactly how your mind works, how your mind affects your body, how your mind stops you from solving problems, causes you to get stressed out, causes you to lose confidence in yourself, lose your temper, and exactly the 10-step procedure on how you handle it. And we are available, and you can contact even me directly if you have any questions or you want to find an auditor to work with, okay? So it's not just about throwing you out there with the book and seeing how you get on. We'll also help you to get through it and also help you to find an auditor, okay? And then what goes with that, as I said, is this manual. It's a workbook, the Solutions for a Dangerous Environment. It's a workbook. It's very, very good, very easy to read. It's a small booklet, right? But it's got a little online course that you can do for free with the booklet. And then this is hardback, but it's the paperback version because the hardback is more expensive. So the hardback is something like 25 or something. But there's going to be a paperback copy of this book sent to you with the whole package, okay? And there's a link that Sylvia has just put up for the 3 books right now. And that link and that offer is going to be available until the end of this webinar. So it's about another 15 minutes or so, okay? Even when we finish. So look, I know I'm kind of, I'm presenting you with a package and everything, but honestly, I'm only here to help people. I want to help you. The first step is to find out for yourself what this material is about. The best way to do that is in the comfort of your own home, sitting by the fire with your feet up, a cup of tea in your hand, and reading these books so that you can decide for yourself. People say to me sometimes, "Oh, Vincent, you're great. You really got the data across all right." That's fine, but it's much better if you read it from the horse's mouth, directly from the author who wrote the book, because this contains all of the data. I mean, there's an incredible amount of data. There's 3 books in this one book, and you get this and you get that. Honestly, folks, I know you might not be, this might be new to you, but I tell you, it is really, really worth it. It shows you how to solve problems for good so that you can move on with life and you can handle things. Okay? And then Sylvia, I think, has answered your question there. So that's it. 3 books, normally €42. And you get it, if you get it tonight, it'll be sent to you €20. And by the way, shipping is free. We're going to throw that in as well. Shipping is free. Okay? Now, before we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, okay? I wanted to take this opportunity to ask you if anybody has any questions on tonight's webinar. Let's just pause so I can drink. This is water and it's not whiskey. There is no whiskey in this bottle. 0, okay? It is just water with some electrolytes, okay? Drink. But anyway, I'm going to take a moment, have a drink, and if you have any questions about the books or about what I went over tonight, or about any problem that you want to ask about, pop it into the chat and I would be very, very happy to answer your question straight away. And look, at the end of the day, if all these books, and primarily this one, this is the main one, main chunky one, if all these books did was help you to resolve your problems going forward, that would be worth it, right? Even if all it did was help you to sort out some of your problems from the past that are still affecting you, it would be worth doing that. So give yourself an opportunity to get this tonight as part of that deal. Okay, so anybody have any questions? And remember, each question is like putting money into the slot machine. You get me, it's like causing me to continue to talk. Any questions on what I went over? Any questions at all? If anybody's still watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, you can pop your questions into the comments field. I don't see them all immediately, but eventually they come around to me. But anybody left on the Zoom, who do we have left here? Roxana, we've got Mick, hello Anna, and we have Eric, and we have Lana, and Sylvia is hosting there as well. So if you have questions anyway, you can pop them into the chat. Yeah. Okay, and so to give you a little bit more data on this, right, is in terms of the auditing, this is different to what you might consider normal forms of like counseling. The auditor, and you can learn how to be an auditor using the book to help your friends and family to deal with their problems. The auditor's best skill is his ability to listen, right? And his ability to actually help the person to go through it and to get their own benefits from it, rather than the auditor telling the person what to do or what to think. So before we wrap up, can I get your feedback on tonight's webinar? What did you think? Any comments, questions? What did you think of the webinar? Was it useful? What was there anything about the webinar that you thought, okay, that kind of clicks? Any compliments? I'm joking. Oh, there's a compliment. I didn't even ask for it, and you threw one in there, Oksana. Great. I'm delighted you liked it, Oksana. Okay, so what was the one thing that you're going to walk away with tonight, memorable about this webinar, apart from your amazing host? Anything that kind of made sense, that kind of clicked with you? Anything that you thought, you know what, this has got a practical use in life? Because remember, I went over, what did I go over? I went over what is the problem, exactly. I went over life is a game and all the different components. And I went over the primary thing, which is your reactive mind, and how to clear it up for good. So there we go. And so just, and before I kind of finish off, I'm not going to keep you all night or drag it out until the end of time, right? But Sylvia has just popped a message in there that the offer is going to stay open until 9:30. So that link is going to be there available until 9:30 if you want to get those 3 books. Normally, the Dianetics book of this are $25. You're getting the New Slant on Life in paperback for free with that. So it's a package of 3 books with free shipping for €20. It's actually extremely, extremely good. Plus, you get follow up on that if you want, and there's a free course that goes with the booklet. Sure, I'm practically giving away the house, as they say. Okay, one last thing I want to ask you about. Was there anything in the webinar that you personally related to? Like, is there a specific, here, actually, do you know what? Was there any problem that you came to the webinar with, okay, that you have a question about, that you'd like to get an answer to? There you go now. Let's make it personal. Is there any particular problem that you have in life that you'd like to pop into the chat, that you would like maybe an answer about? I can give you an answer. I might not give you the deep solution or solve your problem. I might refer you to the book, but is there anything that you'd like to know about? Is there any problem that you'd like help in solving? Because I've read a lot of material. I've helped a lot of people, so I do know a fair few things about a fair few aspects of this issue. You know, as I mentioned at the beginning, I've been at this for many, many years, and I say this, the reason I stuck with this as the primary subject, and by this particular author as well, is because this guy is an absolute genius. I mean, a man that, researched himself personally about what is going on with people. He traveled worldwide. He was all over India and China. He basically traveled practically all over the world, researching his material, helping people, and finding out what is the one thing that is common to everybody, that everybody needs to handle. And his summary of all that work and of all that time was this reactive mind. And this is why the emphasis is on helping somebody with the reactive mind. Because you know something, you can tell somebody till the end of time, like I'm sure you've done this with friends and family. You told them what to do to solve their problem. Here's what you do. Here's what you do. Has anybody ever had that? You know, you try to help somebody with a problem and they just don't get it. Anybody had that before? If you have, pop it in. If not, don't worry, okay? But when you try to help somebody with a problem, you can tell them what to do till the cows come home. But unless they themselves are back up into a situation where they can solve their own problems, you know, you could be dragging out the solution a bit. You're kind of wasting your time a little bit if you're not going down the right avenue. Okay? Anyway, folks, look, I won't keep you here all night. It's 9:15. I want to say thank you very much to everybody who's joined us tonight on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And for everybody who's left on Zoom, thank you so much for sticking with me. Again, I really encourage you to get the books because they really help you in life. I want to say thanks and good night to Oksana, Mick, Anna, Eric, and Lana. You're really great to have you here. Thank you so much. And yes, you're right. Anna, you're 100% right. See you, Mick. God bless everybody. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you next time soon. And do get yourself the books before that offer expires tonight. Okay? Bye.